talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for being with us today. My goodness, now listen, I'm okay. Everybody thought something terrible had happened to me yesterday because we weren't able to do the broadcast, and I'm okay. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm well. For those of you who were able to listen the other day on our terrestrial stations, then you guys know I was kind of cutting in telling you we had technical difficulties, but for the most part we were scrambling, trying to get everything back up and running. I'll tell you what happened. Sorry, I had a beard hair in my mouth. This is things that happen when you have a beard. I'll tell you this. It was very weird what happened at the station today or yesterday. It has been a crazy 24 hours. To say that we didn't have internet capabilities is a little bit of an understatement. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it was worse than internet capabilities, just in terms of, and it didn't just affect our studio here that we broadcast out of, our room. It was kind of something that was extremely difficult to track down, and it was affecting multiple rooms in this facility. And now we have internet, so that's the good news, and we're excited about that because that means that we're up and streaming live at facebook.com, Conduit News, YouTube. Now, you'll have to bear with us because the system failure or attack that we experienced was it kind of required us to kind of reset a lot of the software that we use. So I know our audio levels sometimes fluctuate anyway, but if you're listening online, radio, you guys should be fine. Everything's normal. But if you're listening online, bear with us because this morning when I got here, I had to delete a bunch of inputs and re-add the inputs, and then all of the settings were basically, flat line, so we're kind of adjusting those as we go. But anyway, the bottom line is this: we're back up, and yes, we took a hit, but we are back up and going, and we're ready to bring you the news. Did you check out by the way, did you check out the new logo? Did you check out the new Conduit News logo that's up on Facebook right now? It's pretty sweet. And that brings me to my first point of the show. Big changes are coming. I'm not going to go into specifics, but it really comes down to efficiency. It comes down to what is the most efficient way to bring you guys the news, and so that you can consume it, so you can figure out what's going on in this big world that we live in, specifically right here in Arkansas, and what are our politicians doing in your name. How can we best be that conduit of information from the Marble Palace in Little Rock to the people? And so, we've been kind of racking our brains on this, and we've got a solution. And so we've got a pretty big announcement that's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. I don't have an exact timeline, but we are very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. And I hope you are too, because we're not going to stop. And I think if the last couple of weeks have been any indication as to the type of news that we're bringing and the value of it, because, we really have hit a nerve here. Conduit News has hit a nerve where we have an actual story that very few people want to cover continuously because it's barking up that that big statue of power, man, and we're just looking at the feet of it right now. And people kind of, they have that long look up. They're looking up and then they're thinking, I don't know if I want to climb this tree. I don't know if I want to go down this path. But you know what? And these are the ones over that actually consider themselves journalists and have all of these journalistic credentials and ethics and training. Are we not obligated to speak truth to power, though? Are we not obligated to do this? I don't get it right all the time. I'm constantly challenging my worldview in terms of, I keep my same worldview, but I constantly, based on the news of the day, try to, how does that fit in here? You know what I mean? So sometimes I'm working it out. You guys hear me. Pontificating to my detriment. I'm working it out just like you guys are. But I think we have an obligation here to pursue the truth, to pursue the facts, okay? And so we've got this Asa in China story that's, we didn't get to cover it all yesterday because we didn't have a show. Joe, can you hand me that piece of paper in there? We've got a statement. It's that stack right there. So I've got a statement here from the office of Governor Asa Hutchinson, and I didn't see this go out to any other media, but I actually got this on Tuesday evening, and I had planned to cover this on Wednesday, but of course we had that the Lord had other plans. Honestly, that's what Joe and I had to chalk it up to. We were so Joe, I don't think I've ever been more frustrated than I was yesterday, especially after the show. Very, very frustrated. So here we go. I've got a statement here from the office of Governor Asa Hutchinson. And can you go ahead and throw these quotes up there for me? Okay. So this is the governor's statement or from his office on these questions over himself and China and his son Asa Hutchinson III. Quote, the governor has never, nor has anyone in his office encouraged companies to employ his son. In addition, no company has ever offered or received incentives as a result of his legal services. He was employed by 2 companies after they started hiring employees and needed legal assistance in the United States for visas. Attorney Hutchinson, now, this is a thing here. Attorney Hutchinson is odd, but this is what the governor called it in his statement when he got asked overseas about this. Instead of calling him Asa Hutchinson III, they call him Attorney Hutchinson, and I guess it's just an easier way to distinguish between the two because they have the same, first 2 names. Attorney Hutchinson is managing partner at an international business and immigration law firm serving clients all over the world. The firm has offices in Arkansas and most recently Madrid, Spain. He also does immigration work in Washington, D.C. Obviously, we've covered the part about Madrid. The governor's statement, or the governor's office statement, goes on. As a former federal prosecutor, former associate solicitor at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and a seasoned immigration attorney, he has a unique set of skills that make him highly qualified to provide legal representation to clients all over the world. Okay. That is the first part of the statement. Go to the second part, Joe. And then we have the next part. He has had international clients and practiced immigration law for years, far preceding the time the governor took office. Now, that's a key point there because I have wondered if, the charting of the success of the governor's law firm, the Asa Hutchinson law group, charting that. They're saying that Asa Hutchinson III has had clients and practiced immigration law for years, far preceding when the governor took office. Governor Hutchinson is the founder of the firm but holds no financial interest in the firm. After being elected governor, he took all appropriate steps to dissolve his financial interest. Okay? Now, obviously, there are more questions that you can ask as a result of these statements, but let me get through the statement. Attorney Hutchinson traveled at his own expense for his own business purposes. He traveled separately, arrived before the Arkansas delegation, and participated in a number of independent client meetings while in China. And then lastly, Attorney Hutchinson represents the companies on matters related to a federal issue, not a state issue. All right. So what do you guys think about that statement from the office of Governor Asa Hutchinson? Obviously, it raises even more questions because it certainly is presenting the unfortunate appearance. I mean, there's nobody's going to tell you this looks good. Okay, nobody. It certainly is a rose-colored version of what's going on here. All right? This statement is essentially asking for the people of Arkansas to give them the benefit of the doubt. And, maybe this is all just a coincidence, the way this has happened. I mean, to read this statement, you would have to, and to believe it totally, basically, nothing to see here, okay? Like, if nothing to see here. Okay, so to read that, then this is all just a coincidence, right? It's a coincidence that Governor Asa Hutchinson is the governor giving taxpayer dollars to certain Chinese businesses. And it's just a coincidence that those same Chinese businesses are clients of the governor's law firm. Now, I know they say it's Attorney Hutchinson's law firm, but at this point, he may have made steps to divest. Take him at his word there. Still no mention of what happens when he gets out of office. Do you go back to work for the firm? And it still bears your name. And it's still the number one name on the website. The governor's name is still the first name that you see. It's still advertised as, being essentially politically connected if you read their press release when they expanded to Madrid, which presumably went out to a bunch of, international type clients or potential clients. This last part, though, Attorney Hutchinson represents the companies on matters related to a federal issue, not a state issue. I'm not sure what kind of peaceful, warm feelings that's supposed to produce, because federal and state issues are not mutually exclusive, right? That's a pretty obvious statement there. So I think it's good that the governor's office provided us with this statement of facts as they see it. But maybe it is just a coincidence. Maybe they're right. Maybe it's all coincidence. Now, I do understand there's at least one Freedom of Information Act that has been filed with the governor's office on this matter. Now, I don't know. Maybe there's more. I mean, if the media were doing their job, there should be like 100 at this point. But we'll wait and see. Let me know what you think. I'm going to be reading your Facebook comments. If you're just joining us, I'm alive. I know I was off the air. I apologize yesterday. We had massive technical difficulties, very strange difficulties. I will maybe give you more about that in the days to come. We also have a great show for you. At the bottom of this hour, we'll be talking with Conduit contributor Hannah Webb Howard on the Supreme Court and DACA. Okay? So a lot of people, maybe you guys haven't heard the news. The Supreme Court is going to be debating whether or not what Obama did with DACA is right. Can you end it? Can you not end it? It really has a lot of implications when it comes to the executive authority of our government moving forward. What exactly is the power of the president? I mean, over the 20th century, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger historically. So that's a big deal. So I'll talk to her about that. Then we have the aficionado, I think the main authority that goes so underutilized here in the state of Arkansas. He works at the University of Arkansas as a professor. His name is Dr. Patrick Wolf. We're going to be talking some school choice coming up at 7:30, so you don't want to miss that. Now, we were originally scheduled, those of you that get the email that tells you the guests that we're going to have, we were also supposed to talk to Dr. Michael Pacco today based on the numbers that came out, I think, on Tuesday, economic numbers. But we had to reschedule that because we normally record that interview, and my systems were in complete shambles. So yesterday. So hopefully we're going to sit down with him today, and we'll bring that to you tomorrow. Tomorrow on the program, we do have Congressman Bruce Westerman will be back with us, so it's always great to talk to him. We're going to reset here, and I want to tell you about President Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton. I'll tell you about him when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to...
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
So in keeping with the silence, if you will, that the most of the state media is treating this story, this appearance of I haven't even used the phrase conflict of interest, but I mean the fact is it's just it's really frustrating though. On the front page of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, we have this story about Bill Clinton. Trickle down is a dead end, Clinton says. Trickle down is a dead end, Clinton says. Ex-president advises raising economic from bottom up. Again, Frank Lockwood. There's a conference in Little Rock on domestic economic policy, and Bill Clinton was there to speak about the need for shared prosperity and ways to achieve it. The 42nd president was joined at the Clinton Presidential Center event by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, a host of mayors, lenders, investors, and community leaders. The theme of the day was economic inclusion and growth, the way forward. Now, I just have to say this. This is wildly frustrating to me. Because, I mean, the media refuses to report that Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein were essentially assaulting girls together. I mean, or at least they're not even talking about it. Show the photo, Joe. Show the photos. First of all, let's show this photo. What in the world is this photo doing in Jeffrey Epstein's house of Bill Clinton wearing a dress? These people are weird. These aren't normal Arkansans. If they come back here to the state that's still recovering and living in the shadow of the bureaucratic machines that launched them to world power, it's offensive to me. Look at this. What in the world? Why in the world is Bill Clinton still getting credibility from his hometown newspaper? If anything, there should have been signs with this photo on it. And then go show them the photo with Jeffrey Epstein on the plane with this girl. Look at this young girl that he's with. You see this? Bill Clinton on Jeffrey Epstein's plane with this young girl. And now we've got a new accuser that says that, when Prince Andrew raped her, she got on the plane, and Epstein was like, now that's where my good friend President Bill Clinton normally sits. You're sitting in his seat on the plane, because they were such good friends. Then you got this one that's allegedly from Epstein Island. Look at this one. Ugh. Do we have a better photo of that? Go to the one of the, yeah, that one right there. Look, This is he's chilling in the water in the Caribbean waters with Tony Podesta and George Nader, and there's Bill Clinton and Ricardo Chiaz, some guy named Rolando Gonzalez Bunster. I don't know. I mean, am I the only one? I'm sorry, Bill Clinton. At this point, show the young girl again. I don't want to hear your opinion on economic policy, sir. I don't want to hear your opinion. I'm pretty sure your judgment is so into question and all of these other decisions you've made in your life. I don't want to hear what you think about trickle-down economics. I don't want to hear about what your wife thinks about it. You know? If you want me to ask your opinion of something, my opinion or my question to you would be, what's up with that painting of you in a dress in Jeffrey Epstein's New York townhouse? You know, what's up with that? What's up with that girl that you're with right there on Epstein's plane? My question would be, hey, was that consensual? Was that a consensual situation? I mean, I'm just curious. So you have. That's what the media should be asking. They should be gathering at the Clinton Library in Little Rock, which Rush Limbaugh famously called a trailer because it looks like one. Everybody should have been gathering and saying, "Oh, Mr. President, can you explain Can you explain Epstein, by the way? What do you think about Epstein, the Epstein memes, and how the Epstein didn't kill himself is everywhere? Do you remember when a couple of weeks ago everybody was thinking Hillary Clinton might announce and Hillary Clinton might run again, and Hillary Clinton saying things like, people keep telling me that I need to run, and what she's really talking about are the voices inside of her head. People keep telling me that I need to run for office, and there were some really good memes about how in the world does this woman think she can run for office again when Epstein's dead? You don't hear anything about the Me Too movement when it comes to Epstein anymore. Nothing about that. Do you remember when Bill Clinton was on tape talking about, Hillary, she wishes she could be here. But she's not. But because this event is inspired by Eleanor Roosevelt, Hillary Clinton wanted me to tell you that she communes with Eleanor Roosevelt. It's like, what? Now a lot of people think that was just him joking, but I don't know. I've listened to that several times. The Bill Clinton saying that look it up on YouTube. Bill Clinton saying that his wife communes with Eleanor Roosevelt. Yeah. I've said this before, but something tells me that, I believe that you believe that that's Eleanor Roosevelt, but I don't think that's Eleanor Roosevelt. I think that's somebody pretending to be Eleanor Roosevelt, right? It's called the snare of the devil. Telephone number 870-275-9799. Let me know what's going on. Listen, I know we're having some camera problems. I can tell that we've got we've got some lagging issues. That's all because our systems were just completely taken offline yesterday, and we've been scrambling to get everything back up and going. I know the camera's having a lag problem. Oh, by the way, the big news that we have here at Conduit that we're not going to announce yet, all I can tell you is I'll give you a little hint. We're not going to have any lagging camera problems for too much longer. But as far as I've lagged, I'm sitting there lagging right now. But I do know the issue to fix this in the interim. Probably not today, but when we get off the air. We're going to be back here in just a moment, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
And I have wanted to welcome back to Arkansas Chairman Chu. Please give Chairman Chu a round of applause.
China is also applying this power in more proactive ways than ever before to exert influence and interfere in the domestic policy and politics of this country.
Chairman Chu, I got to know as he is the CEO and chairman of Shandong Ruyi Technology Group out of Shandong Province.
Over the past 17 years, China's GDP has grown ninefold. It's become the second largest economy in the world. Much of this success was driven by American investment in China. And the Chinese Communist Party has also used an arsenal of policies inconsistent with free and fair trade, including tariffs, quotas, currency manipulation, forced technology transfer, intellectual property theft, and industrial subsidies that are handed out like candy to foreign investment.
We've been to Shandong Province a number of times since I've been governor. We've called on people, and Chairman Chu gave us the opportunity to meet with him at Ruyi, at their technology group there in Shandong, and saw his incredible facility. We asked him to visit Arkansas. He did. So Chairman Chu, we're delighted to have you here. I'm excited about signing this agreement with you, and I welcome you to Arkansas.
These policies have built Beijing's manufacturing base at the expense of its competitors, especially the United States of America.
And I wanted to recognize Chairman Lee to my right, who is the founder of Sun Paper of Shandong Province in China. I also want to recognize Secretary Ma.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Hey folks, hey, welcome back to the program. We do have a Conduit contributor on the line. Hannah Webb Howard is back with us. Hannah, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's always great to have you. Now, I want to remind everybody you are in law school, so you're studying, cases and case law and all kinds of stuff. And so I want to utilize your expertise here, and wanted you to address what's going on with the Supreme Court. Last week, they were hearing arguments over DACA, over these dreamers. And so what can you tell us about this case? What does it mean?
Sure. So I'm going to walk you through kind of a timeline of what this case is and what exactly the issues are that the Supreme Court's going to decide on. So essentially what is in front of the court right now are three cases rolled into one. So there was a case out of D.C., there was a case in New York, and there was a case in California, all the same case. And so the Supreme Court has said, okay, we'll hear all of these at the same time. So starting at the absolute very beginning, so we remember when Obama announced DACA, which is the Deferred Action Program, and that was in 2012 that he created DACA, which essentially was just, okay, children that have been brought into this country by their parents illegally, well, we're not going to deport you or take any action on your illegal status for at least 2 years. And then when that 2 years is up, you are going to have the chance to renew this deferred action. It did not grant them citizenship, and it did not grant them a path to citizenship. It was just like, hey, we're not going to deport you. And, we all remember the backlash when that happened.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, in 2014, right before the end of his term, Obama's term, he expanded DACA. So DACA was initially 2 years, and now they expanded it to 3 years before you have to renew it. And they kind of loosened up the regulations on who could qualify for DACA, so more kids could qualify to be in that class of people. And then they expanded it to parents. So they created DAPA, which was basically deferred action for parents, and it was those parents with their children that are U.S. citizens or their children were permanent residents. So they basically overhauled DACA and made it bigger. Well, when that happened, when this expansion and the new DAPA happened, Texas and 25 other states basically said, we've had enough, we're suing you. And so they sued the government to enjoin the government, which just means they sued them to make them stop doing this. They wanted to put the brakes on the DACA expansion and the new DAPA. And so they won. And the thing is they won substantively. So this wasn't, when the court, reached their final decision, they didn't say, oh, you did this improperly, go back and try it again a different way. They said, no, this violates the law. You cannot do that. But it was only the DACA expansion, and the DAPA, it wasn't the initial DACA. So since they won, Texas went back and said, okay, we're going after that original DACA. We're going to go after DACA in 2012. Because they essentially, what the court said in that case should translate to that 2012 program. They're essentially the exact same thing and the exact same reasoning. So they should apply, but of course, it doesn't apply until the court says it does. And so after this case, Trump was in office, and so Attorney General Jeff Sessions sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security and said, hey, listen, these cases, this isn't legal. We've got to stop DACA. And so that was when Nielsen was the secretary. And so she sent out her letter that said, hey, listen, there's these court cases. We're not going to win in the courts on DACA, so we've got to roll it back. So they rolled back DACA, and we all remember when that happened. And so immediately after the DACA program was rolled back, well, then you had other parties suing the government again, essentially for the same reason that Texas sued the government the first time. Now these parties are suing the government again, just the exact opposite claim, saying, hey, you can't do this, you can't roll back DACA like this. So that brings us to the Supreme Court now.
Okay.
And there's two really interesting issues that they're going to hear. So the first one that they're going to discuss is the government is arguing, listen, well, let me back up a little bit so this makes more sense. People that have sued the government are saying, hey, you acted arbitrary and capricious, and you can't do that. So what does arbitrary and capricious mean? Well, it's this big, fancy legal term that just says, hey, you're acting on your own free will, you're doing whatever the heck you want to, and you can't do that. And then their second claim is you were supposed to give us all this fancy notice and comment rulemaking, and you didn't do that. And so here are the government's two main arguments in front of the court. They're saying, well, first of all, the court can't even hear this case because everything that's happened, creating DACA, rolling back DACA, it's not the court's place to even make a decision on that. That's completely within the executive branch's discretion. And so the courts can't touch that. So that's their first argument. And their second argument is, well, even if you can hear this, we didn't act arbitrary and capricious. And so basically what the government has said, well, we're not wrong. But even if we are wrong, we still did it right. And that, and of course, that's always how it works. It's always how it works.
We're not wrong, but even if we are wrong, that's pretty good. That is typical government speak.
Sure. Well, and they're being good lawyers, if you ask me. And so that's what it is. And so, but here's what happens. So let's say the Supreme Court comes out and says, you're right, this isn't reviewable. This is totally within your discretion. Executive branch, you can do whatever you want. Wow. So that's a short-term win for people who disagree with DACA. So it would be a short-term win for the Trump presidency because he could roll it back if he wants to.
Yeah, and do a lot of other things. He could do a lot of other things that I'm sure the left wouldn't want him to do.
Sure. Well, it'd expand on his power, and that would be a whole new conversation that we'd have to have. You know, how much does it expand on his power, etc. But it also means that just like he overturned Obama, somebody can come after Trump and turn around and overturn what he did.
Yeah. Because
that means, you know, this whole policy, this whole conversation, whichever president's in office can just do whatever they want with regards to that.
So this case really has a lot at stake in terms of the power of the executive branch. I mean, I know you said it's a whole other conversation, but I mean, you know, I think people on the left and right, if you're principled, you should not want the DACA to say that this was all, or the Supreme Court say that this was all in President Obama's authority. I mean, that's a massive expansion of his power.
It would be. It'd be a huge paragraph. And, you know, there's always this constant struggle between how much power can each branch have. And this may be one of those times that, you know, he can gobble up some power. So we'll see. And, you know, because the court can always come back and say, well, we can review this. You know, this is totally within our branch. You know, our branch can review this. And, you know, they could come back and say, well, listen, we can review this, but it's not arbitrary and capricious. So just keep doing your own thing.
Yeah.
And so that would also be a win for Trump. And they could even come back and they could say, we can review this, and DACA is illegal, which is exactly what they said with the expansion and the new DACA program. And so that's not, you know, it seems almost like it's not going to happen because it'd be too good to be true for them to come back and say, oh, DACA is illegal. But it's really not that far-fetched of an idea. It would be completely in line with this precedent that they set just a few years ago. So it's a really interesting case. And each possible outcome has huge, I hate to say repercussions because that seems to mean that it's bad, but it has a lot of ripple effects.
Well, I look for the president, you know, we would have already had a DACA deal. He gave the Democrats everything that they wanted. And then this court case in the lower courts, you know, moved towards the Democrats' favor, and then they didn't want to negotiate. And I think it was because they would rather the DACA people be victims so that they can be exploited for Democrat power than actually try to fix the problem and give Trump the credit. But if the Supreme Court were to come down and say, look, Trump can end DACA if he wants, I look for the president, to a lot of conservatives' dismay, to try to fix the problem, to try to grant some pathway to legalization. I don't know if it's citizenship, but legalization, but to also get border security, like real border security out of it, more than we already have. So that's what I look to happen. So, you know, and that's, I think, what that would be a huge boost to the president for the center of the country if he were to do that. And it is an election year coming up, so who knows?
Well, absolutely. And so when Nielsen rolled back the DACA program, I think it was almost a, hey, Congress, do your job now kind of move, because she said in her memo when she rolled it back, this is not the executive branch's place to do this. DACA can still be a thing, but Congress, you've got to make it happen. Like, Congress, this is your job. And she said that when she rolled back DACA, but yet here we are, however many years later.
Here we are.
Nothing.
Well, Hannah Webb Howard, really appreciate you coming on. It's always great to have you on, and thanks for analyzing this case for us and telling us what's going on and tell us what the stakes are, too.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, Paul.
And back in just a moment, folks. Or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Of Shandong Province.
As President Trump said just this week, in his words, we rebuilt China over the last 25 years.
Last November, as you know, I traveled to Shandong Province. I met with Chairman Lee. I toured Sun Paper Company along with Mike Preston. While in China, we signed a letter of intent on behalf of the state of Arkansas with Sun Paper, indicating that Sun Paper wanted to put a major bioproducts mill in South Arkansas, in Arkansas.
The Communist Party has set its sights on controlling 90% of the world's most advanced industries, including robotics, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence.
Money, power, prestige, essence, available now from aristocrats serving Arkansas. From Zenata Rhino Collection, the fragrance of backroom deals, nepotism, the aroma of higher taxes, subliminal deception, deep state, ace, made right here in Arkansas by a taxpayer-funded Chinese factory. Every bottle carefully crafted for you. Gender neutral. Nothing says aristocrat like Essence of Bureaucrat. Essence of Bureaucrat by Asa.
Available now in the Marble Palace gift shop.
Paul Harrell parody. Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, here we go. Welcome back. Here we go. We are here, and we're like the Millennium Falcon. We are up broadcasting. The hyperdrive went down yesterday, and it's still acting up. We don't really have, it's episode 5. We're just kind of, we're past the brilliance of episode 4, and we need an R2D2. We need one of those little thingies, one of those probes. Okay, so let's go with impeachment yesterday. I get really frustrated, just like you. You guys heard what CNN was saying. You guys heard what the mainstream media, you guys heard what Fox News was saying. Ambassador Sondland's testimony very damaging to the president. And it was fake news. It was fake news. No, it wasn't damaging to the president. It really wasn't even damaging to Rudy Giuliani. That's fake news as well. But if the press is going to selectively summarize, or selectively edit and then present it to you as a summary, You're not getting all the facts. For example, here is a tweet by the Daily Wire's Ryan Saavedra. Representative Congressman Mike Turner, a Republican from Ohio, questioning Ambassador Gordon Sondland, and this is what it sounded like.
After you testified, Chairman Schiff ran out and gave a press conference and said he gets to impeach the President of the United States because of your testimony. And if you pull up CNN today, right now, their banner says Sondland ties Trump to withholding aid. Is that your testimony today, Ambassador Sondland, that you have evidence that Donald Trump tied the investigations to the aid? Because I don't think you're saying that.
I've said repeatedly, Congressman, I was presuming. I also said that President Trump...
So no one told you, not just the President. Giuliani didn't tell you, Mulvaney didn't tell you, nobody, Pompeo didn't tell you, nobody else on this planet told you that Donald Trump was tying aid to these investigations. Is that correct?
I think I already testified.
No, answer the question. Is it correct? No one on this planet told you that Donald Trump was tying this aid to the investigations? Because if your answer is yes, then the chairman's wrong and the headline on CNN is wrong. No one on this planet told you that President Trump was tying aid to investigations. Yes or no?
Yes.
So, you really have no testimony today that ties President Trump to a scheme to withhold aid from Ukraine in exchange for these investigations.
Other than my own presumption.
Which is nothing. I mean, that's what I don't understand. So do you know what hearsay evidence is, Ambassador? Hearsay is when I testify what someone else told me. Do you know what made-up testimony is? Made-up testimony is when I just presume it. I mean, you're just assuming all of these things, and then you're giving them the evidence that they're running out and doing press conferences, and CNN's headline is saying that you're saying the President of the United States should be impeached because he tied aid to investigations, and you don't know that, correct?
I never said the President of the United States should be impeached.
Nope, but you did. You have left people with the confusing impression that you were giving testimony that you did not. You do not have any evidence that the President of the United States was tied to withholding aid from Ukraine in exchange for investigations. I yield back.
All right, again, that's Congressman Mike Turner, a Republican from Ohio. No one on this planet told you that that aid was tied to the investigation, yes or no? Yes. No one told him. Now, that's a summary that the mainstream media is going to leave out. They're also leaving out when Ambassador Sondland spoke directly with the president, and he asked him, what do you want out of Ukraine? And the president said, I want nothing. I want President Zelensky to do the right thing, but I want nothing out of Ukraine. That was in his testimony as well. Notice there, the ambassador said, I presumed. This was my presumption. So it was what he presumed. It was his opinion that there was something tied there. And so what you have here for the Democrats is just a complete lack of evidence, because we have the transcript of the call, and I'll even give you that it was a loose transcript of the call, but because that's what some people want to say. It was a loose transcript. But the fact of the matter is, we've got people who have listened to the call, and they're not out there with any evidence saying this was not what was on the call. In fact, the president said this and left it out. Instead, they've got guys saying, well, there was innuendo, or it was a presumption. Now, and I'm glad the Republicans are confronting that substance or the lack of substance, full on. But the fact of the matter is, you and I both know that foreign aid in and of itself, you give countries foreign aid because you're trying to support something politically, whether it's their government versus maybe a communist government, or in the case of Americans have, we've because we hated the Soviets so much, we would support this, we would support the regime in Afghanistan. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I mean, that's the whole point, whether it's military aid, whether it's foreign aid. And what we have here, the reason this impeachment is even going on is because you have a party that is just mad that the president of the United States is Donald Trump, and he is using the power that other presidents have, but using it to change the status quo, whether it's the political systems across the world or whether it's actually investigating the corrupt activities of the Democrats in the country of Ukraine. And that's what this is really about. This is really about what the Democrats were doing in Ukraine, not just the Democrats, but also, I saw that one meme where, did you see the meme where it was a cartoon where Donald Trump had just flipped on the kitchen light switch and was tapping his foot, his arms crossed, and he caught 4 people with their hands in the cookie jar. And the cookie jar said Ukraine on it. And it was Nancy Pelosi's hand, it was Joe Biden's hand, it was Barack Obama's hand, and Mitt Romney's hand were in the cookie jar. Thought it was a really, really savvy political cartoon. Matter of fact, we might try to find that. Folks, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we've got Dr. Patrick Wolf will join us. He is going to be talking with us about a school choice. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Patrick Wolf is a distinguished professor of education policy and 21st century endowed chair in school choice in the Department of Education Reform at the University of Arkansas College of Education and Health Professions. But he's actually taught at Columbia. He's taught at Georgetown. He's really, really smart, speaks all over the country about school choice, and he's right here in Arkansas, and we need to utilize him so that we can give parents more choice, and in so doing, make education better for kids. If you're just joining us, we have a statement from the office of the Governor, Asa Hutchinson. And we're going to throw this back up on the screen for you. The governor's office has responded to the China situation with his son and with the governor's law firm. He says this: the governor has never, nor has anyone in his office, encouraged companies to employ his son. In addition, no company has ever been offered or received incentives as a result of his legal services. He was employed by 2 companies after they started hiring employees and needed legal assistance for U.S. visas. Attorney Hutchinson is managing partner of an international business and immigration law firm serving clients all over the world. The firm has offices in Arkansas and most recently Madrid, Spain. He also does immigration work in Washington, D.C. Now, there's no mention of the fact that the governor's name is still on the law firm. It is his law firm. His name is still listed. He's still listed as an attorney on the law firm website. As a former federal prosecutor, former associate solicitor at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and a seasoned immigration attorney, he has a unique set of skills that makes him highly qualified to provide legal representation to clients around the world. Again, this is a statement from Asa Hutchinson's office, the governor's office. He has had international clients and practiced immigration law for years, far preceding the time the governor took office. Governor Hutchinson is the founder of the firm but holds no financial interest in the firm. After being elected governor, he took all appropriate steps to dissolve his financial interest. Okay? Again, more questions. I think a lot of people assumed that. I mean, you kind of had to, until we had a statement, you know, the website kind of made me want to assume otherwise. I kind of go back and forth on that. But no mention as to what the governor will do after he leaves office. Will he go back to work for the firm that still bears his name as the founder and still has press releases that talk about him being politically connected? Attorney Hutchinson traveled at his own expense and for his own business purposes. He traveled separately, arrived before the Arkansas delegation, and participated in a number of independent client meetings in China. And lastly, Attorney Hutchinson represents the companies on matters related to federal issues, not state issues. That last point is moot because federal and state issues are not mutually exclusive. You and I both know that. But that's the statement from the governor's office. What do you think about it? Let me know. Is this all just one big coincidence that the governor's son represents the same clients that get Arkansas taxpayer dollars to move to Arkansas? And by the way, we got to remember these are communist entities disguised as companies as well.
Convenient locations. This is News Talk 101.3 FM and 12:30 AM KBTM Jonesboro.
Folks, Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
To win the commanding heights of the 21st century economy, Beijing has directed its bureaucrats and businesses to obtain American intellectual property, the foundation of our economic leadership, by any means necessary.
Chairman Lee and I met yesterday. Chairman Lee indicated to me that Sun Paper has selected Arkadelphia in Clark County as the location of a $1 billion bioproducts mill.
Beijing now requires many American businesses to hand over their trade secrets as the cost of doing business in China. It also coordinates and sponsors the acquisition of American firms to gain ownership of their creations. Worst of all, Chinese security agencies have masterminded the wholesale theft of American technology, including cutting-edge military blueprints. And using that stolen technology, the Chinese Communist Party is turning plowshares into swords on a massive scale.
Well, thank you all for joining us via Skype from Beijing this morning. Here in Beijing, it is 10 p.m. in the evening. I've had a very successful trip to China.
China now spends as much on its military as the rest of Asia combined. And Beijing has prioritized capabilities to erode America's military advantages on land, at sea, in the air, and in space.
I've spoken at Tsinghua University here in Beijing, which was a treat for me to speak with young Chinese students about Arkansas, and also to talk about the relationship between China and the United States.
China wants nothing less than to push the United States of America from the Western Pacific and attempt to prevent us from coming to the aid of our allies. But they will fail. Beijing is also using its power like never before. Chinese ships routinely patrol around the Senkaku Islands, which are administered by Japan. And while China's leaders stood in the Rose Garden at the White House in 2015 and said that his country had, and I quote, no intention to militarize the South China Sea. Today, Beijing has deployed advanced anti-ship and anti-air missiles atop an archipelago of military bases constructed on artificial islands. China's aggression was on display this week when a Chinese naval vessel came within 45 yards of the USS Decatur as it conducted freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, forcing our ship to quickly maneuver to avoid collision. Despite such reckless harassment, the United States Navy will continue to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows and our national interests demand. We will not be intimidated, and we will not stand down.
And we'll be calling on multiple prospects in China, as well as continuing our relationship with Sun Paper in Shandong Province.
In recent years, China has taken a sharp U-turn toward control and oppression of its own people. Today, China has built an unparalleled surveillance state, and it's growing more expansive and intrusive, often with the help of U.S. technology.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Yeah, some of these text messages coming in and comments on Facebook. So, you know, there are those really popular segments that Steven Crowder does, and you can found those on YouTube, the Change My Mind segments. And so somebody writes on Facebook, Hutchinson Law Group is making money on the governor's office. Prove me wrong. Wouldn't that be hilarious to set up a table like outside the Marble Palace somewhere and just set up and have a chair there and let people prove me wrong? Here are the clients. Matter of fact, here's an interesting message here. How is it that 1/2 of the companies listed as clients on the governor's law firm's website receive some sort of state benefit? Wow. Is that true? I mean, definitely. By the way, in the governor's statement yesterday, the last hour that we put out, the governor's office has a statement. They actually gave it to me on Tuesday, and we didn't get to broadcast yesterday because we were hit with just this ridiculous amount of technical problems. There is no mention of iStation, by the way. That one is the interesting one, the education contract, because iStation's a company out of Dallas that does business with the governor's law firm that he says that he is no longer has financial interest in, and he divested. So just to be clear, the governor, throw the statement up there again, Joe. The governor says that he divested from the law firm when he was elected. Yet the law firm still bears his name, and he is still listed as an attorney on the website, unless something has changed. Let me make sure that as of this broadcast, he hasn't been removed from the website. Let's see here. Asa Hutchinson Law Group. You know, sometimes you take things as fact, and then we want to be accurate here. And we go here, so it's Asa Hutchinson Law Group, and yeah, he's still listed. You scroll over lawyers, he's still right there. Here's the statement from the governor's office. I've already covered this twice, but I'm just letting you guys know. I want everybody to know this is a statement from the governor's office, okay? Statement from the governor's office. The governor has never, nor has anyone in his office, encouraged companies to employ his son. In addition, no company has ever been offered or received incentives as a result of his legal services. He was employed by 2 companies after they started hiring employees and needed legal assistance for U.S. visas. Attorney Hutchinson, now, first of all, why do they need assistance for U.S. visas? Well, is it because, I mean, how many Chinese nationals come over with each economic development deal? Remember what the Secretary of Commerce said, Mike Preston, when they announced one of those Chinese communist deals? It was, Chairman Chu, look around the room, and you'll see all these representatives and senators, and they're here for you, and these are your representatives and your senators now. It was weird. It was like not only did the economic development deal come with some sort of visa or green card, but it also came with citizenship, because now these are your state senators and state representatives. It was wildly offensive, still is. Attorney Hutchinson is managing partner of an international business and immigration law firm serving clients all over the world. The firm has offices in Arkansas and most recently Madrid, Spain. He also does immigration work in D.C. Again, somebody on Facebook said this was carefully crafted language. I can understand why you would think that, because Attorney Hutchinson is managing partner of an international business and immigration law firm that bears his father's name and lists his dad as an attorney on the website. As a former federal prosecutor, former associate solicitor at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and a seasoned immigration attorney, he has a unique set of skills that makes him highly qualified to provide legal representation to clients all over the world. Here's a question. Is he the only immigration attorney in Arkansas that would do the work for T.Y. Garments, Rise Ever, and Dragon Woodland? These three Chinese communist entities disguised as companies that are getting taxpayer incentives in one way or another to move here. Is he the only one? Is there anybody else that could do this? Would he even have to be an Arkansan? He has an international. He has had international clients and practiced immigration law for years, far preceding the time the governor took office. Okay, he's had international clients and practiced immigration law for years, far preceding the time. When did he get these 3 clients, though? 4 clients. When did he get iStation? When did he get Dragon Woodland? When did he get T.Y. Garments? When did he get Rise Ever? Did he have those clients before or after the governor took office? You might have had international clients before the governor took office, but did you have these specific ones? Governor Hutchinson is the founder of the firm, but holds no, do we get the next one? Holds no financial interest in the firm. After being elected governor, he took all appropriate steps to dissolve his financial interest. What about after he leaves office? Can you absorb? Can you, if you dissolve financial interest before you, after you get elected, can you then absorb financial interest after you leave office? Just an honest question. Attorney Hutchinson traveled at his own expense and for his own business purposes. He traveled separately, arrived before the Arkansas delegation, and participated in a number of independent client meetings while in China. Attorney Hutchinson represents the companies on matters related to a federal issue, not a state issue. What, immigration? That's a statement from the governor's office. You tell me, folks. What are your thoughts on this? You can sound off on the YouTube channel. You can sound off on the Facebook page. Speaking of Facebook, man, throw this up there. Did you see these? This is sweet. We got some. We got big announcements coming from Conduit about our future plans. So, number one, you see the new logo there, man. That's pretty sharp looking. And then, of course, we have big changes are coming, and then they're coming soon. And we're still going to be providing you with the same great news and the same great insights. And just stay tuned for the announcement. I'm really excited. I got to tell you, I mean, it's been a long time coming, but I said this in the first hour. It's all about efficiency for us. How is the most efficient way for us to deliver you the news on a daily basis? And so we got big announcements coming very soon with that. And so stay tuned for all of that. Somebody says a unique set of skills. Sure, getting out of tight spots. I don't know. I mean, you'd think instead of being an immigration attorney, you got to say this. I'm sorry, but you'd think instead of being an immigration attorney, ASA 3 would be like a DWI attorney. Like, oh, I can get you out of DWIs because this guy's gotten out of so many DWIs. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy is, I mean, if a lot of people probably are figuring out ASA 3 is an attorney for the first time in the last couple of months anyway. It's like, wow. You know, the only thing anybody in Arkansas knew about ASA 3 was his DWI charges and how they kept getting dismissed on technicalities, right? And it's like, wow. Well, I guess, I mean, you know what? I just realized something. If we are being asked to believe that Asa III and his Chinese clients at his dad's law firm are just a coincidence, then we also would have to believe that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill. No, I'm sorry. Then we also would have to believe that Asa the Third getting out of, what is it, 3 or 4 DWIs? How many is it, Joe? You would also have to believe that that's a coincidence. I never thought about it till now because I don't like to link people's personal mistakes, and you know, a lot the re-offending of the DWIs is actually very concerning because you know the reason those laws are there is to try to protect other drivers. You know what I mean? I was talking to a family member the other day whose cousin that I never met was killed by a drunk driver. I had no idea. But if we are to believe that Dragon Woodland being a client of Asa the Third's and Rise Ever being a client of Asa the Third's and T.Y. Garments being a client of Asa the Third's, if that's just a coincidence, it has nothing to do with the fact that Asa Hutchinson is governor, then that's the same. That's basically asking us to believe that Asa the Third got out of all those DWIs, or you know, because he's just you know, a normal, average person, and it's just a coincidence. And I think most people believe, most normal, honest people believe that Asa the Third got out of those DWIs because of who his father was. Likewise, most normal, honest people know that Asa the Third likely has these clients because his dad is governor and we're doing business as a state with him. Does that mean there's anything illegal? Maybe not. Is it wrong? Does it hurt the common good? Yeah. Does it hurt our opinion of those who are in power? Yeah. Does it call into question every other economic development deal that we'll do throughout the rest of the Governor Asa Hutchinson's term? Yeah, it does. And it's a shame. It really is a shame. Tell me what you guys think about this statement that the governor's office released, and we'll continue to talk about it. Bill and Hillary Clinton were in town the other night. No way. This can't be an accurate statement. Did somebody make a meme about this? Clintons were in town and a woman's body has been found in Pulaski County. Come on, guys. They gave me the emoji. You know, the one, Oh, that's terrible, by the way, if somebody's has been found dead. But anyway. No, the Clintons, I talked about this last hour briefly, but the Clintons were in town talking about economic policy. And I'm like, and it's on the front page of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. By the way, when are we going to rename the Little Rock Airport? We need to I was skeptical of this when I heard about this a few years ago. Now that I know that Bill Clinton got pictures with Jeffrey Epstein and got pictures with Tony Podesta at Epstein Island and got pictures on Epstein's playing with a young girl around his with his arm around a young girl. Now that I know about all this, I don't want to hear Bill Clinton's opinion on trickle-down economics. Do you want to hear? Are you interested in hearing about Bill Clinton's opinion on trickle-down economics? I'm not, and that's now going to be his legacy as far as I'm concerned. When all's said and done, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, okay? And I'm just not, I'm not buying it. But it's on the front page of the Democrat Gazette, and the Democrat Gazette has still been silent about the Chinese communist entities disguised as companies coming here. You would think, it would be news that Congressman Rick Crawford of the Intelligence Committee, I know he stepped down from the Intelligence Committee so Jim Jordan could do what obviously Jim Jordan's been doing a very good job at, and after the impeachment inquiry is over, Rick Crawford will be back on the Intelligence Committee. You would think the Gazette would want to highlight the difference between two Republicans. Here's one Republican who said on Talk Business and Politics, as well as Conduit News, Rick Crawford, that China is not here to help us. We can't trust them. He said on this program it's a Trojan horse, which is a perfect analogy. Versus Asa, And you'd think the Gazette would want to do a story on that, wouldn't you? Right? Just that alone. And then, also, maybe one of the reasons these two Republicans have a different opinion is because of the governor's son and these law firms. And listen, I hope that this is all one big coincidence, but you'll have to color me skeptical. I mean, again, if you're going to tell me it's a coincidence that the governor's son has the same Chinese clients that are coming to Arkansas, then I would also believe that it's just a coincidence that the governor's son got out of his DWI charges. Because he's just a normal, average guy. Just a coincidence. The last name, I think, has something to do with it. What do you think? Telephone number is 870-275-9799. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be talking with Dr. Patrick Wolf about school choice. Don't go anywhere.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
And when it comes to religious freedom, a new wave of persecution is crashing down on Chinese Christians, Buddhists, and Muslims.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Not wearing any shoes in that fourth arrest? This is a police officer say something about no shoes. Hang on, I'm watching the video myself. I don't have this for you guys. Yeah. Oh, do you feel comfortable in those shoes? Okay, that's what he said. Do you feel comfortable in those shoes? Yeah. So at least this is the video of Asa Hutchinson's Hutchinson the three. This gets confusing. Asa Hutchinson III's fourth DWI arrest. Part 1 is out there on YouTube for your consumption if you want to take a look at it. Yeah, so 4 of them. Interestingly, I kind of wish there was a 4th Chinese company that was a client, like Sun Paper. Wouldn't that be great if Sun Paper was a client of Asa Hutchinson III at the governor's law firm? Because then that would be like one Chinese company that's a coincidence for every one coincidence. I mean, how many times can you get arrested and still be a lawyer and have your law license? You know what I mean? It was like one company for every DWI arrest. How many is that, kids? 4 plus 4 is... Yeah. Sound off on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Conduit News. That's facebook.com/Conduit News. And we have on the front page of the Gazette, if you can kind of get by the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, people get mad at me when I call it the Gazette. They say, we ended the Gazette. The Democrat took over the Gazette. Quit calling it the Gazette. Okay. I do have a lack of historical context sometimes. But we have, we forgot to tell you this. Hunter Biden, speaking of deals in China. Hunter Biden, you are the father. No, I'm the father. Yeah, that's right. Hunter Biden, you are the father. Are the father. That's right. Baby, is it Baby Doe? So you got this, the girl out of Independence County was right. According to the paternity test. Hunter Biden did father a child with an Arkansas woman while they were in D.C., and apparently this was in the interim. This was in the interim when he was in the process of divorcing his wife to marry his sister-in-law upon the death. Did you know this? It really it does read like a Maury Povich paternity show. Or Jerry Springer? Yeah, Jerry Springer. So like while Hunter Biden was divorcing his wife and pursuing his sister-in-law after the tragic death of his brother Beau, he conceived a child with this Arkansas woman. Yeah. So anyway, do we have this? Where's this photo? Yep, filing no doubt. Dad of Arkansas baby is Biden's son. It says DNA sets onus on Hunter. Well, the good news for this Arkansas woman who was, abandoned is that this guy, thanks to his father, was making $80,000 a month in Ukraine alone. We haven't even done China yet. He was making $80,000 a month with no qualifications on the board of Burisma. Did you hear that the head of Burisma has now been indicted? The mainstream media killed this story. The Twitter accounts that reported this broke yesterday that the government of Ukraine has indicted the head of Burisma for stealing something like $7 billion. And the Twitter accounts that broke the story were deleted or suspended. This was happening during impeachment. The mainstream media says they don't believe it or it's a conspiracy. It's real. It actually has happened. But they don't want you to see it because when you get into situations like this, you quickly learn that America is actually not free. We are actually not free in terms of open information. We have basically these quasi-private, really they're almost state-owned propaganda machines that are telling us, really keeping the truth from us in a lot of ways if there's something overseas that they don't want you to know about. They didn't want you to know about that because that would delegitimize the impeachment hearings. So, that's good news for this Arkansas woman, though. I mean, assuming she's going to get child support. She's going to get a lot of it. The guy was making $80,000 a month. And so now, you know who's representing Hunter Biden in this paternity case? Former Attorney General, Democrat Dustin McDaniel. He was not available for comment, according to this report in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. She gave birth to this child in August of 2018. So sometime in late 2017 is when the conception happened, and the name of the child referred to in court documents as Baby Doe has not been disclosed. Anyway, Joe Biden, you are the grandfather. To Doe Biden. Oh, wow, I didn't think of that. Joe Biden is the grandfather to Baby Doe Biden out of Independence County. Man, what a crazy, tangled web we weave. We're going to be right back with Dr. Patrick Wolf. Don't go anywhere.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Last month, Beijing shut down one of China's largest underground churches. Across the country, authorities are tearing down crosses, burning Bibles, and imprisoning believers. And Beijing has now reached a deal with the Vatican that gives the avowedly atheist Communist Party a direct role in appointing Catholic bishops. For China's Christians, these are desperate times.
So, do you like him as a candidate?
I think he's brought a lot to the table. It's not my message. I worry about the party in terms of expanding our base and what the message does to our recruitment of Hispanics, outreach to minorities. And so you've got to worry about the fall election and whether this is a message that's going to carry in Michigan, Ohio, and Florida, and those states that we need to carry.
The American people deserve to know. In response to the strong stand that President Trump has taken, Beijing is pursuing a comprehensive and coordinated campaign to undermine support for the president, our agenda, and our nation's most cherished ideals.
I think you've got to listen to what he says and how he conducts himself. And I don't know that he would be that different from what he is now in negotiating with Vladimir Putin. So,
you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a good thing. We need people who, in the presidency, that understand how the world works, understands that there's a time for bluster and there's a time for reason.
The Chinese Communist Party is rewarding or coercing American businesses, movie studios, universities, think tanks, scholars, journalists, and local, state, and federal officials.
And then, Chairman, you'll look out in the audience and you'll see multiple members of the governor's cabinet. We're also here to support you. You'll see multiple members of the state legislative assembly. They're here to support you, and specifically
Conduit
Senator
News Radio
Caldwell,
with Paul
Senator
Harrell
Ingram.
is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
We do have a Conduit contributor on the line. Hannah Webb Howard is back with us. Hannah, how are you? All right, folks, hey, welcome back to the program this morning. We got a special treat with us once again. He is Distinguished Professor of Education Policy and 21st Century Endowed Chair in the School Choice in the Department of Education Reform at the University of Arkansas College of Education and Health Professionals. He's Dr. Patrick Wolf, and he's on the line. Dr. Wolf, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Paul. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So I wanted to get a couple. I've got this story here I want to talk about here in just a moment. It has to do with Elizabeth Warren and her flip-flopping on some stuff in terms of school choice. But first off, can you just address briefly, have you been following the news with what's going on with the Little Rock School District? I've been talking to some folks that say, what an example of why we need more school choice. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the traditional public school system, it's designed to have this hierarchical kind of command and control approach to delivering education. It's not as dynamic or organic as, our old vision of community schools or of the new vision of school choice that a lot of folks are discussing. And so, when you have a problem like you have some district-run public schools that aren't delivering results for parents, one approach that they go to is state control. and state direction. I think it's just a big sort of wake-up call that we've got problems in a lot of these districts, especially inner city districts, and we have to be thinking more creatively about possible solutions.
I completely agree. Thinking creatively, thinking outside the box. So here it is. It's from the American Conservative, this other article I was just mentioning. Elizabeth Warren flipped, then flopped on school choice. Did you read this piece?
I did.
What are your thoughts on this? And which way was she, what position was she originally before she flipped and then flopped?
So it's interesting, Paul, because I've studied the politics of school choice. And the political coalition that tends to support school choice consists of three different groups. It includes conservatives who really value parents being involved in their child's education, directing their child's education. So that's like parental rights, parental direction of education. It includes libertarians who really believe that free markets are more effective mechanisms for delivering services to people than bureaucracies, than government bureaucracies. And then it includes a third group, and that is progressives who recognize that under the traditional system of residential assignment to schools, disadvantaged populations really suffer. They tend to have the least amount of access to quality schools. And so it's not surprising to me, it's never been surprising that progressives like Elizabeth Warren have been supporters of school choice, at least until they become serious political candidates in the Democratic Party. Then suddenly they have to change their position. But yes, she was a vocal supporter of school choice, of private school vouchers, of public school choice in the form of charter schools and open enrollment in her professorial career, in her intellectual career, when she was speaking as a professor on these issues. But then when she became a serious national politician, her position changed.
Gosh, I mean, we've seen that a bunch on a lot of times politicians flip-flop. But on this particular instance, I mean, in this one article, when pressed to explain such a blatant change of heart, Warren claimed she was never in favor of private school vouchers, tax credits for alternative schooling, or any other controversial reform. That's just not true, though, is it?
No, I mean it's right in her book. She said universal vouchers would be a great way to shake up the system, the education system. So I mean it's as plain as the nose on your face that she was advocating support for private school choice as a progressive reform.
Wow, and that's what's interesting to me. And we've talked about this. I think the last month you were on, we talked about this. How this does really have a very bipartisan nature to it. The idea of school choice. Because there are basic ideas, because I feel like it's more student focused. We're actually trying to, help the student as the opposite of that is just kind of trying to maintain the status quo. And I think everybody can agree we can do better when it comes to our educational system. And yet, I don't know, this mentions Betsy DeVos, this mentions, Donald Trump, of course, anything that a Republican does at this point, the Democrats are going to be against, and really vice versa. But, I mean, I'm just trying to think, look, I think locally, and we talked about this last month, Dr. Wolf, locally, I think if we can get people behind the ideas that are going to work or that are going to be new ideas, that's where we should focus. And try to maybe even get away from the labels. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we are all responsible for the education of the next generation of children. Parents are primarily responsible. They see the kids every day. They are keenly attuned to what their children need educationally and the circumstances in which they'll thrive. And they also bear the most consequences if an education goes poorly for a child. So obviously parents have to be significantly involved, but all of society needs to contribute resources to it because all of society benefits from effectively educated children. At the same time, we just get this warning blast from the National Assessment of Education Progress. One of my colleagues, Marty West of Harvard University, said they should rename it, the National Assessment of Stagnation and Decline, because the scores are trending down. They're not going up the way they should be. So we've definitely got a lot of work to do. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that school choice should be a big part of it. And sadly, it used to be a heavily bipartisan issue until we entered this recent era of partisanship.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, I remember it. I remember, it being something that united both sides, and this was something that we could do. And then, like anything, if you start to change something, the people that don't want it to be changed, they really fight tooth and nail. I want to once again, thank you, Dr. Wolf, for coming on the program. And I want to restate the reason I love having you on is because, you are working, as a distinguished professor in education policy at the University of Arkansas. And I think you are such a valuable resource for, advocating for school choice. And I don't think enough people know that this is right here. You're right here in our state doing this great work. Can you tell us a little bit about, before you go, this the work that you do here in Arkansas? And I know you also do a lot of work outside of the state advocating for school choice.
Sure, Paul. So I've done a variety of evaluations of private school choice programs in places as varied as Washington, D.C., the state of Louisiana, and Delhi, India. So I've basically traveled the country and traveled the globe to learn about what happens when folks, have more access to private schooling as an option with resource supports from government or private sources. So I've sort of been all around studying that. I also study public charter schools. I examine funding equity and inequity in the funding of public education. So does a child receive less money when they choose a public charter school versus a district-run school? So I've studied that issue too. And basically, my job, my charge is to speak truth to power about these important education policies and education reforms. And I base my recommendations and my opinions on the evidence that I've uncovered and other rigorous scholars have uncovered about these questions.
Dr. Patrick Wolf, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. Look forward to doing it again soon, sir.
You're certainly welcome, Paul.
All righty, folks, going to take a break. Back in just a moment. Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell, these are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them and they're going to help you, guarantee it. And Senator English, I saw you out there too. Thank you for being here as well.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting. Bob Maloney here with a developing story from ASA News, the parent. China is coming to Arkansas. We go live to the press conference where the Communist Chinese executive is addressing Arkansans for the first time. Let's listen into the translator.
On behalf of the government of the People's Republic of China, we invite you to come and visit the newest named city in Arkansas, China, Delphia. We are very pleased to own an American city. Our communist government is proud to do business with the mediocre state of Arkansas. We are happy to take your money and your trees and send the profits back home. The Communist government of China was pleased to learn the taxpayers of Arkansas are excited to contribute their money with the hope, if you build it, one day jobs will come. We are excited to take your fields of capitalism and turn them into fields of communism, where every Arkansan has nightly dreams of Mao. China is looking forward to our investment of $1 billion in what is now called Arkansas. We see this as an investment in our future, and that future will be called New Beijing. Chinese investment will make Arkansas a great place for jobs, as the People's Republic of China will succeed where the Soviets failed. As we build our roots deep in Arkansas, we are thrilled with the potential new ideas and advancement we will share with our people back home. Soon we will have the world's largest runway in the South China Sea, and we thank Arkansas for contributing to our noble cause. In closing, once we make China great again, all of you will see the glory of the revolution of Mao. And Arkansas, whatever you do, please never call the FBI.
Paul Harrell, parody.
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Did you guys see this report about Arkansas? Well, it's actually not the subject of the report, but in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette this morning, it says that in 2018, Arkansas's median household income among people under the age of 65 was the 5th lowest in the country. This is according to the Commonwealth Fund report. Andy Davis headline, report puts Arkansas third highest in cost of worker health plans. So why does that have to do with the median household income? Because if Arkansas has a terrible median household income compared to our neighbors, that means more and more people have to decide between essentials and paying for their health care, because health care costs continue to rise. They continue to rise. Andy Davis writes, as a percentage of household incomes, the cost of private, job-based health coverage last year was more expensive in Arkansas than in all but 2 other states. Employees in Arkansas paid an average of $388 a month, or $4,661 a year for individual or family coverage. That was equivalent to 9.1% of the state's median annual household income of $51,320 for people under the age of 65. Only Louisiana and Mississippi had a higher average premium when compared to their median incomes. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I guess those Chinese factories can't get here soon enough. Am I right? Right? Can help us. I guess my question would be, let's say that would help, which I don't think it will, but let's say that would help. I mean, is it worth it? Because why not? I got a text message like, why not give away all this taxpayer money and incentives to Arkansas companies? or at least Arkansas economic development, or at the very least American economic development. Why does it got to be foreign, Chinese? When the governor says that Arkansas, he said this many times. I don't know what publication, I can't remember, but when he says that Arkansas depends on foreign investment, are you comfortable with Arkansas depending on foreign investment? I certainly am not comfortable with that. Craig Wilson, Health Policy Director for the Arkansas Center for Health Improvement, said in an email that the cost of health care is lower in Arkansas than other states because of Arkansas's low wages. Huh. Anyway, that's an interesting way to look at it. But again, according to the Commonwealth, the Commonwealth Fund report, Arkansas's median household income among people under the age of 65 was the 5th lowest. Well, it would be great to be the 5th highest, wouldn't it? That we're the 5th lowest. Because we have a government that is larger per capita than the states around us. If you look at Arkansas's readings on most of these rankings, we really come out like an average Democrat blue middle. We're a middle of the road blue state, and that's a terrible thing to be if you're wanting economic freedom. I mean, it's just, if you're wanting economic freedom, you don't want to be in the middle of you obviously have New York and California at the top. You don't want to be in the middle of these blue states, these other blue states out there. But if you look at the rankings, I mean, that's why, as far as tax policy in general, we're the 17th worst place. In as far as sales tax, we're the highest, if not tied for the highest or the second highest sales tax in the state, in the nation. I mean, it's just terrible. And that's also why, by the way, I'll refer you to the Conduit for Action article about this issue 1 and the tax increase, or the governor advocating to stop tax relief that will come if we vote against the sales tax coming up in 2020. I mean, we were promised, we were promised sales tax relief in Arkansas. In 2012, we were promised sales tax relief. We voted for sales tax relief. In 2012, we said we will pay for a certain amount of time a 0.5-cent sales tax to pay for these specific projects, but it will go away in 2022. And then the governor says, not so fast. I want to make sure that you're sure about that. So we're going to put it on the ballot so you can vote to change the sales tax relief that is coming. Pretty sad. And it's not just the governor. There's other legislators that went along with this. But it's I want tax relief. Are you not tired of being one of the highest sales tax in the country? Do you not think that has a bearing? And by the way, the fact that the state sales tax is so high, it hurts our local communities. What do I mean by that? Well, if you want to know one of the reasons why Jonesboro, couldn't get their tax increase passed, it's because the state's taking too much of our money. That sales tax needs to be lowered, the state sales tax. And I'm not advocating for tax increase at the local government, but I guess my point is everybody has that line. And I think when you start getting above 9%, you get closer to 10%, people are like, hang on, wait a second. 10% is just too much. And, I think money that is raised locally is better because you can keep an eye on it, or at least you hope so, but it's more manageable because it's not as much money as if you're collecting 6.5% from the entire state, and then that all gets mismanaged. You know what I mean? It's like the idea of having a $5 trillion federal budget and being able to actually administer that equitably without any waste. If you had to spend $5 trillion, obviously there's going to be a lot more waste in that $5 trillion than if you had to spend $20 million on a city or $40 million on a city. You know what I mean? So local is better. I can get you that. But if these cities that are upset that they can't pay for this or they can't pay for that, You don't need to go back to the taxpayers and get mad at us for voting it down. You need to be mad at the state for having the sales tax as high as it is. Because the state right now is running on $8,000 a person per capita, while the other states around us run on $5,000. And that's a problem. And that's why we need to change it, and right now we're just trying to survive. Right now the state of Arkansas is just trying to survive. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh, yeah, this is an interesting headline out of Breitbart.com. The communist Chinese have replaced a statue of Jesus with a lightning rod. What did Jesus say about lightning? Jesus said, I was there. I saw Satan fall like lightning. Officials of China's United Front have removed a statue of Christ the King from the steeple of the church of Linjiao Zhuang in Shandong, replacing it with, look, I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best here. I'm so sorry. That's how I pronounce that word. I'm apologize. and I'm sorry. That's just the way I'm pronouncing it. Officials of China. Anyway, the reason I pulled this story yesterday is because it's in the Shandong province, where all these Chinese companies are coming from. So in the Shandong province, we have officials removing a statue. By the way, we really want to do business with these people, right? We can't, and we really want to let the governor's law firm do the visa work. Removing a statue of Christ the King from the steeple of the church. Linjiao Wang, Shandong, replacing it with a lightning rod. Calling Christian symbols on church rooftops too visible, the United Front. What? Calling. Oh, it's okay. It's Wong. Okay. Calling Christian symbols on church rooftops too visible, the United Front also tore down crosses from the Church of Wuda and from the Church of Zumadian, according to Asia News, the official press agency of the Pontifical Institute for Foreign Missions. The removal of the statue of Jesus forms part of the program of the Chinese Communist Party to sinicize religion in China by expunging it of Western influence and making it more compatible with the tenets of Chinese socialism. This program includes measures designed to make the signs of Christian faith ever less visible. The sinicization, and it's weird, the sinicization, sin being the operative word there. The sin campaign began in earnest in February 2018 with the publication of strict new regulations on religious activities. In enforcing the regulations, authorities have destroyed churches, crosses, paintings, and other Christian symbols. We're going to end the program one more time. This is a statement from the office of Governor Asa Hutchinson concerning his son and the Chinese companies. The governor has never, nor has anyone in his office, encouraged companies to employ his son. In addition, no company has ever offered or received incentives as a result of his legal services. Attorney Hutchinson is managing partner at an international business and immigration firm serving clients all over the world. The firm has offices in Arkansas and most recently Madrid, Spain. He also does immigration work in D.C. As a former federal prosecutor, former associate solicitor at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and a seasoned immigration attorney, he has a unique set of skills that makes him highly qualified to provide legal representation. I have a unique set of skills. And then we have the second part. He has international clients and practiced immigration law for years. You guys can check it out. We read this for you in the first hour, the full statement from the governor's office. Essentially, nothing to see here. This is all a coincidence. That he has the same Chinese clients that are coming to Arkansas. Just like it would be a coincidence that he's had 4 DWIs and still has his bar license. That's just a coincidence, too. We'll see you tomorrow.